Look at that, I've got a mayfly or something similar on my glasses. See ya, buddy. A lot of people don't realise that those little insects and bugs like that begin their life at the bottom of these rivers under the rocks as little nymphs. And as the days get warmer and the sun gets higher in the sky and there's more pollen and just general spring life activity, those nymphs will emerge from under the rocks, move their way to the surface of the water, grow wings and fly away. Sometimes they just emerge up and fly off. Quite often they climb up bits of grass or aquatic weed and sit in the sun and dry their wings. But either way, that's why little bead-headed nymphs are great when you're fly fishing, and little soft plastics such as striped tiger nymphs and stuff like that, because they mimic those little things that turn into the insects that I just had to kick off my sunglasses. Anyway folks, welcome to Robbie's limited edition 2016 Victorian Trout Opening River Roundup. And the reason it's limited edition is because there's only ever going to be one 2016 Victorian trout season. Anyway, standing here on the banks of the King River, have a look at it. Isn't it just fantastic? It looks really nice, but there is a lot of water flowing down. The water's really, really clear. If the season was open now, I think I could cast into here with quite a realistic chance of catching a trout. Just on the actual King River, I think if you want to catch a trout in the King River, you're better off to go above Lake William Hovell. There's a better population of trout up there. Down here, they've removed all the willows. The water gets a lot warmer and the trout numbers aren't what they used to be. But there are still a few down here and there's some quite big ones amongst them. Now, this week, there's a lot of rain in the forecast. They're forecasting up to 50 to 60 millimetres of rain for Wangaratta, where I come from, just for this week alone. How much of that we get, nobody knows. Last week we were meant to get a big rain event. Instead we got a cold week with frosty mornings just about every day. And I think we had 0.8 of a millimetre one day. So if this week's forecast ahead is anything like last week's, we're going to be in for a great trout opening. One thing I do know is that with the catchments being so wet and the rivers being so high already, although they look good now, it's not going to take much rain to mess them up. The small creeks, a lot of them are carrying quite a lot of water. They're clear and they're fishable, but wading will be difficult in all but the tiniest of streams this weekend. Even if we don't get any more rain, wading will still be difficult. So there's a lot of water around. This has been fantastic because the trout will have been feeding on worms all winter because they are a cold water species. And trout are the fastest growing fish species in the area, so they will have put on a lot of size over the winter, and I'm expecting it to be a really good season when trout season opens. Just don't expect to be able to wade into too many places for the first few weeks of the season. Anyway, while I'm up here, I'm going for a drive. Let's go and look at some other rivers and see how they look. But doesn't this just look fantastic? This is the Rose River, and it's just looking fantastic at the moment. The water is quite clear. It's never normally as clear in the Rose as what it is in the King River or the nearby Dandongadale River. It's always got a slightly more tannin sort of look to it, but at the moment it's about as clear as it ever gets, and it is flowing absolutely fantastic, and it is very, very fishable. Wading will be difficult but possible in some areas, but I don't think there'll be too many spots where you'll be able to cross the river without any troubles. This section of the Rose River actually dries up quite often. When I say it dries up, most summers it'll reduce to a trickle, and around about 1 in every 3 summers it will flow underground, but there is usually water in the deep pools, such as that one there at the base of this little waterfall. And that is where the fish seek salvation. They'll sit there in those salvation holes until the water starts flowing like it is now, then they'll just swim out and feed freely. This is the Dandongadale River. It flows into the Rose River about 70 metres downstream of where I'm standing. The Dandongadale River is accessible up in its headwaters in the Alpine National Park, and also down here at its junction with the Rose River. But in between there is kilometres and kilometres of water that is seldom fished. It's usually only fished by experienced anglers or adventurous anglers willing to carry all the gear on a backpack and go in and fish. It's a great fishery, and it's just the right spot for people that like to do a bit of backpack fishing or even backpack camping, to walk up the Dandongadale River into those remote areas. And it doesn't see very much fishing pressure up there, and nor will it, because a lot of people aren't willing to go to those extremes to try and catch a trout. And that's what makes the Dandongadale River one of the best rivers in northeast Victoria. Now we look downstream of this bridge and we can see the Dandongadale River goes over this little bit of a spillway, and you can see just there just how much water is currently flowing down the Dandongadale River. And you can see those rapids in the background. That is the Rose River running in from the left, and they go down that valley there and end up in Lake Buffalo. They flow into the Buffalo River only a couple of kilometres downstream of here, and then they enter Lake Buffalo. And at the moment there is a lot of water flowing in this system, as you can see just by that. This is God's country. This is heaven. Now here we have one of my favourite places in all of Victoria, and that is the Buffalo River upstream of Lake Buffalo. Just have a look at that. I could stand here and watch that all day. I love this place. At the moment there's a lot of water in the Buffalo River. Most summers this little particular area just here reduces to a mere trickle. In fact, most of the Buffalo River does. It carries a lot of water in the winter and the spring months. But in the summer it drops right back. But these pools are very deep, and they are more than capable of holding trout during the summer months. The Buffalo River is very fishable at the moment, particularly in the many big deep holes. The rapids will be hard and wading will be unheard of at the moment. But in the next couple of months, as the river goes down, it should be okay. But just bear in mind, with the rainfall forecast this week, as well as the high flows that we're already seeing, on opening there could be even more water than this in this river. Rightio folks, look at this last little creek, eh? A lovely little stream. No river roundup would be complete without going into one of these little creeks and just testing just how cold this water is. Now my friend Matt G. Asumi has told me I need to go in and do the river roundup from the middle of the creek. Let me tell you, the water is now in my gumboots and it is very, very cold. Yeah. This little stream is looking just fantastic at the moment. It's certainly very fishable. It's very, very clear. Let me tell you, first-hand experience is that it's extremely cold. I'm not going to go in any deeper because I don't want the old thermostat to get wet. But it's very cold. It's wadeable. I could cross the creek, no worries at all. But I wouldn't recommend wading upstream, particularly in deep holes like this, because once your body core temperature drops, you can become hypothermic quite quickly. Okay to walk up to the knees and whatnot. And once, if I go in 4 inches deeper, my voice will rise as my temperature drops. Very, very cold, but looking absolutely amazing. Depending how much rain we get this week will really dictate how the fishing is next weekend. If we get a lot of rain, even this will be high and dirty and unfishable. This is actually one of the smaller creeks that I fish, but look how big it is even just now. This is what the rivers look like in summer. This normally flows sort of 3 or 4 feet wide in the summer months. But anyway folks, just for you, Matt G. Asumi, I've walked out into the river in my gumboots as you requested to do a river roundup. And I'll tell you what, it's cold, but I could handle this. I could easily walk up there and fish right now. Nice fresh water out of the creek. You can't beat it. Some people will tell me I'm a little bit crazy for drinking that water. No other reason, just for drinking the water, because it carries parasites and germs and all sorts of things. But I've been drinking the water in these creeks for 40 years and I haven't died yet. I came out with a bunch of sores once, but that's a different story. So I tell you what, there's more things. The cold water alone is more dangerous to me than the water that I'm drinking. Right everyone, trout opening is next weekend. I can't wait. Bring on Saturday. My lovely boss has signed the annual leave form for me, so I've got the day off. I'm meant to work next weekend. I'm working Thursday night and Friday morning. I've got most of Friday off, all of Saturday, and I'm back at work Sunday, and I just can't wait to wet a line Saturday. I hope this river roundup has been beneficial to you. I hope you find it useful, and good luck on the water next weekend. And I look forward to seeing Facebook newsfeed flooded with photos of people's trout. Have a great week and hang in there. It's going to be as slow as a wet week this week. Pun intended.